First off, I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double understood those elders and apostles out there from Great Millstone who teach and rule well. A lot of respect to you brothers out there preaching this truth around the four corners of the earth. And salutations to the hopeful elect that you guys may be sealed soon. And with that, this is your brother Dwight Bar from the branch of GMS here in Chicago, just coming at you with something that was on my spirit just to say. And this is just in general, so this ain't really pointing at nobody, but this is for all to hear, including myself. There are three little things I just want to touch on, and I'm just going to speak on them briefly. I might quote a few scriptures, so bear with me, brothers. The first thing I want to speak on is I think it might be an apocrypha, I'm not too sure, but it says, hear the whole matter before you judge. And when I bring this out, I'm talking about not only the person who's explaining the matter, but the person who's listening. Because the last thing you want to do is that you don't pay attention to what someone's saying when they're explaining something to you. And then all of a sudden words get misconstrued. And all of a sudden here it is. Some could be said out of place, or some could be just taken wrong. Or you might not heard the whole thing. And here it is now all of a sudden there's an issue. So, to the person who's explaining and to the person who's actually doing the listening and explaining back, make sure you're paying attention to what is being said. And that goes both ways, And to the person who's actually having something explained to them, if there's something that you're not understanding, or maybe you didn't get the whole thing, maybe it's a good idea to ask. And I'm just saying that in general. This ain't directed nowhere. This is just in general, because you don't never want your words to be misconstrued, where you might be getting looked at side-eyed, and that's all I'm going to sit up here and say on that. The other thing I want to sit up here and say is, brothers, be respectful of the elders. You younger brothers especially, be respectful of the men that are above you. Be respectful of men who's been in this truth for quite a long time. And what I mean by that is, if they're an elder brother, you call them elder, and even if you address a brother as a bishop or a deacon, that's okay. Now, if a brother don't mind you addressing them as just a, ark or whatever, that's cool. If that's what they don't mind. But I sit up here and say, if it's anything other than, if they, just out of being respectful, because don't forget, man, we're building back up the house of David. And everything is going to go back to the way it was. We're going to go back to our laws. We're going to go back to our mannerism. So, hey, you know what? Hey, it's a good idea. And this goes triple for me. We slip up every now and then. We might say every now and then. But, hey, when you catch yourself, be more respectful. And that's all I'm going to sit up here and say on that. And just be respectful. Like I said, this is supposed to be short and to the point. And these are just points I want to hit up on. Maybe when I get to the house, or maybe a little later, I might do a part 2 to this where I add a few scriptures. But this was just something that was on my mind while I was taking the bus home. And the third thing I want to hit up on is, hey, I'm trying to word this the right way. We know brothers go through things. All brothers have their different walks in life. All brothers, everybody has their lot. All brothers have their, we all have our, how could I say, our thorn, just like Apostle Paul. All of us have our thorn. All of us have our walk in this life, and it's suited to our life. Some brothers have it maybe a little bit more difficult than others. And I'm not excusing no brothers, but I will sit up here and say, hey, brothers, man, we supposed to bear each other's, every now and then, we got to bear each other's issues, man. And I know I'm saying it a little bit wrong. I forgot what the scripture exactly say, because sometimes, some brothers go through a lot more than others, man. And with that being said, man, sometimes you got to be a little bit more merciful in how we deal with brothers, man, because sometimes, brothers be going through it, and to that brother that's going through it, man, speak up. Learn how to speak, man. Learn how to talk. Learn how to sit up here and say some shit instead of just sitting up here letting stuff linger. Be honest and be respectful. And even, I'm going to say, be professional with it. We in this truth, man. Brothers got to learn how to speak up when things are going wrong. Brothers got to learn how to sit up here and talk, And that's the thing I really want to hit up on. I didn't want to make this long, and I don't want to sound like a broken record or sound like I'm, you know, I'm on. You know the point I'm trying to make, man. It's just, hey, sometimes you just want to sit up here, and I didn't even really want to even say some of these things, because sometimes you feel like when you make points like this, you don't want to feel out of place, out of pocket, or like you saying something really totally off, you know, and because some things just need to be said sometimes, and and I'm quite I consider myself more of a easy brother, a laid back brother, more so than others, so, and that's not, I'm not trying to sit up here and say anything one way or the other, but I'm just sitting up here just describing the type of brother I've been for a while, and actually even in my life, I've been like this, before I came into the truth. So, but you got other brothers that's a little bit more different than I am. So with that being said, hey, you know what? I always sit up here and say, and even with me, I heard brothers say sometimes you got to be an asshole. Brothers do say that too. And sometimes I'm quite sure you have to, man. So, but I just want to sit up here and say, man, sometimes, you gotta understand to have mercy with a brother. And there's a scripture I want to sit up here and quote, and it was like, hey, how you judge, when your brothers, you're going to make sure that you don't want to be judged as, you don't want to sit up here and judge a brother too harshly, because, hey, it might come that time that you might need that same mercy and you get judged the same way. So, and I know I chopped up that scripture, but I think brothers know the point that I'm trying to make. But that's all I want to really sit up here and say. I'm not going to sit up here and mumble and jumble and ramble any further. Those are the points I was trying to make. And so with that, I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'Hashem Yahushai, Ba'Hashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to those elders and apostles out there from Great Millstone who teach and rule well. A lot of respect to you brothers out there on the highways and byways, preaching this truth around the four corners of the earth. And salutations to the hope elect that you guys may be sealed soon. And with that, I always say stay prayed up, brothers. Pray for each other, because we're almost up out of here. So with that, I'd like to say Kwam Yasharella and Abba Ball and Anya Habatham Malakium. Shalom.